I was just 2 weeks away from marrying Amanda, my girlfriend of 5 years. We had it all planned out in our new house I had saved for. Then I walked in on something no one should ever see. My younger brother Jason was in bed with Amanda. As if that was not painful enough, I later found out she was pregnant with his child. The worst part, my mom, Margaret, blamed me and demanded I take responsibility for their betrayal. Before I dive deeper into how my life fell apart, let me know where you are watching from and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you will want to hear how I turned this betrayal into the best decision of my life. Growing up in Portland, I always tried to do things the right way. At 35, I had built a solid career as a software engineer at a respected tech company. While many of my colleagues jumped between jobs chasing higher salaries, I stayed loyal to one company for 8 years, slowly climbing the ladder. That dedication allowed me to save enough for a down payment on a modest 3-bedroom house in a quiet suburb. It was not fancy, but it was mine, and I took great pride in that achievement. I met Amanda during the company Christmas party 4 years ago. She worked in the marketing department, and we bonded over our mutual dislike of office politics. Amanda had this way of seeing through people that I admired. She was direct but kind, ambitious but not at the expense of others. Our values aligned perfectly, or so I thought. We shared a vision of building a family based on honesty and respect, values that seemed scarce in my own upbringing. After 3 years of dating, I proposed to Amanda at the little Italian restaurant where we had our first date. I spent weeks planning every detail, coordinating with the restaurant owner to recreate our original table setting. When the dessert came with the ring hidden inside a tiramisu, her eyes lit up in a way I will never forget. She said yes immediately, and in that moment I thought my life was finally coming together perfectly. My family background was complicated. Dad passed away when I was 14 from a heart attack, leaving Mom to raise Jason and me alone. Jason was only 11 at the time, and something shifted in our family dynamic after Dad died. Mom always had a soft spot for Jason, but after Dad was gone, that favoritism became impossible to ignore. Growing up, Jason and I were as different as two brothers could be. While I was the responsible one who helped around the house and focused on school, Jason was the charmer who could talk his way out of trouble with a smile. Mom would ground me for missing curfew by 15 minutes, but laugh it off when Jason came home at 3 in the morning. When I saved my allowance for months to buy my first computer, Jason broke it within a week. Instead of making him face consequences, Mom used her limited savings to buy him a new gaming console to keep him occupied. This pattern continued into adulthood. Every time I achieved something, Jason found a way to overshadow it or sabotage my moment. When I graduated college, he created a family drama that pulled attention from my achievement. When I got my first promotion, he announced he was moving to Europe for a dream opportunity that never materialized. He would regularly ask for loans that were never repaid, and Mom would always defend him, saying I should help my brother because I was doing better financially. Despite these challenges, I always tried to maintain a cordial relationship with my brother. Family was family, I thought. Looking back, I realize I was blind to many warning signs about Amanda. In the months before our wedding, she began changing small things about herself. Her phone was suddenly always face down. She would step outside to take calls. She started asking questions about Jason, showing interest in his life in a way she never had before. Meanwhile, Jason suddenly became interested in our wedding plans. He would drop by our house unannounced, always when I was about to head out for work or errands. I thought he was finally maturing, taking an interest in this important event in my life. Now I understand he was calculating his visits around my schedule. Mom also started singing praises about Jason more frequently when Amanda was present. She would reminisce about how charming and adventurous Jason was, how he lived life to the fullest, unlike me with my stable but predictable career. I brushed it off as typical maternal favoritism, never imagining the seeds being planted. I was working overtime to pay for our dream wedding, often coming home exhausted. Amanda would say she understood, but there was a growing distance between us that I attributed to wedding stress. I failed to see the danger right in front of me. The last family dinner before everything fell apart should have been my final warning. Jason complimented Amanda excessively on her cooking, her dress, her wedding plans. Mom joined in remarking how Amanda brought out a side of Jason she had not seen since he was a child. Then came the comparison I can still hear clearly when Mom said, "Jason has that spark that makes life exciting. Eric is dependable, but Jason makes people feel alive." Amanda nodded in agreement, and something cold settled in my stomach, but even then I dismissed it as Mom being Mom. The day my world collapsed started normally. I had a meeting canceled unexpectedly, allowing me to come home earlier than usual. As I pulled into the driveway around 2 in the afternoon, I noticed a familiar car parked down the street. It belonged to Jason, but I thought nothing of it. Perhaps he was visiting a friend in the neighborhood. When I entered my house, I heard sounds coming from upstairs. At first, I thought Amanda might be watching television in our bedroom. But as I climbed the stairs, I recognized the sounds for what they were. Every step toward our bedroom door felt like walking through concrete. My hand trembled as I pushed the door open, already knowing what I would find, but hoping desperately to be wrong. The images burned into my memory. Amanda and Jason in our bed in the home I had worked so hard to provide. They froze when they saw me, their expressions shifting from shock to something else. Jason looked at me with what I can only describe as smug satisfaction. Amanda pulled the sheets up, tears immediately forming in her eyes. I stood there speechless, my entire body going numb. The room started spinning and I had to grab the doorframe to stay upright. The physical pain in my chest was so intense that for a moment I wondered if I was having a heart attack like my father. When I finally found my voice, I asked just one question. How long? Amanda sobbed that it was a mistake, that it just happened. But Jason, with a casualness that still makes my blood boil, said, 3 months, bro. Sorry you had to find out this way. 3 months. While I was working late to pay for our wedding, while I was excitedly planning our future, they had been betraying me in the worst possible way. Amanda jumped out of bed, wrapping herself in our comforter, the one we had picked out together for our new life. She approached me, reaching out to touch my arm. I just stood there. Eric, please. You have been so busy lately. I was lonely. It just happened. She actually tried to blame me for her betrayal. That was when something inside me broke. I quietly asked them both to leave my house immediately. Jason gathered his clothes without a word of apology. Amanda begged for a chance to explain, but there was nothing to explain. After they left, I sat on the floor of my bedroom for hours, unable to move. My phone rang repeatedly. I finally answered when I saw it was Mom calling. Somehow, Jason had already reached her with his version of events. Her words cut deeper than anything else that day. Eric, you need to come over right now. We need to discuss how you are going to handle this situation. When I arrived at Mom's house, I found Jason sitting at the kitchen table looking remorseful, but I could see the act for what it was. Amanda sat in the living room, eyes puffy from crying. Mom ushered me into the kitchen and closed the door. I know you are hurt, she began. But we need to think practically now. Amanda is pregnant. The room started spinning again. Pregnant, with my brother's child, while engaged to me. Mom continued as if discussing a minor inconvenience. These things happen in families. The important thing now is that we stick together. Amanda is carrying your niece or nephew. I waited for her to acknowledge the betrayal, to show some understanding of the pain I was experiencing. Instead, she said something I will never forget, Eric. This would not have happened if you had been more attentive to Amanda's needs. Jason made a mistake. Yes, but you worked too much. You left her vulnerable. I could not believe what I was hearing. My own mother was blaming me for my brother sleeping with my fiancée. When I pointed this out, she dismissed my pain entirely. Stop being so dramatic. You have always been too sensitive. What matters now is doing the right thing. Amanda is confused and scared. You need to be the bigger man here. Being the bigger man in Mom's view meant forgiving Amanda, proceeding with the wedding, and raising my brother's child as my own. When I refused, she called me selfish and immature. She actually said I was throwing a tantrum over something that could be fixed if I just grew up and accepted my responsibility to the family. Word of the situation spread quickly among friends and extended family. Some were supportive, expressing outrage on my behalf. Others surprisingly took a position similar to my mother's, suggesting that family should come first and that I should find a way to forgive for the sake of the unborn child. My best friend Thomas was the only one who seemed to truly understand the depth of the betrayal. He offered his guest room if I needed space. My boss was unexpectedly understanding when I requested emergency personal leave. He had gone through a divorce years earlier and recognized the shell-shocked look in my eyes. "Take all the time you need," he said. "The work will still be here when you are ready." The following weeks were the darkest of my life. I barely ate or slept. When I did sleep, I had nightmares about walking down the aisle only to find Jason waiting at the altar with Amanda. I lost 15 pounds in 3 weeks. I stopped answering calls from family members, knowing they would only pressure me to forgive and move on. The betrayal was not just about the infidelity or even the pregnancy. It was the complete disregard for me as a person by the 3 people who should have cared about me the most. My fiancé, my brother, and my mother had all decided that my feelings, my future, and my dignity were less important than accommodating Jason's behavior once again. A month after discovering the betrayal, the situation deteriorated further. Jason and Amanda had moved into Mom's house. According to Thomas, who still kept in touch with mutual friends, they were presenting themselves as a couple in love who had found each other under unfortunate circumstances. The narrative they created made me the villain, the workaholic, who had neglected his fiancée until she found comfort with someone who truly appreciated her. Mom organized a family gathering, inviting aunts, uncles, and cousins. I declined to attend, but heard all about it afterward from my cousin Lily, who was disgusted by the whole affair. Apparently, Mom had presented the situation as a difficult family matter that required everyone to pull together. Several relatives called me afterward, encouraging me not to be stubborn and to think about what was best for the family as a whole. Uncle Frank, Mom's older brother, called me directly. I had always respected him, but his words left me cold. "Eric, I understand you are hurt, but think about your mother. She is going to be a grandmother. This child deserves to have a stable family. Jason has never been reliable. You have a good job, a house. You need to step up and help support them financially at least." I hung up without responding. The audacity was breathtaking. My entire family seemed to think that because I had worked hard and built something for myself, I was now responsible for financing my brother's betrayal. The situation reached its breaking point 2 months after the discovery. Mom insisted I join them for dinner to discuss the future. Against my better judgment, I agreed, hoping for some acknowledgement of the wrong done to me. The dinner was a carefully orchestrated ambush. Mom had prepared all my favorite foods from childhood, an obvious attempt at emotional manipulation. Amanda sat beside Jason, her pregnancy now visible. She at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. Jason, however, had his arm draped possessively over her chair, a subtle claim of ownership that made me nauseous. After dinner, Mom cleared her throat and made an announcement that still feels like a knife to the heart when I remember it. "I know there has been some tension, but we need to move forward as a family. Jason and Amanda are getting married next month. It will be a small ceremony, nothing elaborate. The baby deserves to have married parents." I sat in stunned silence as she continued. "Eric, we have been thinking about the practical aspects of their new life together. Your house has 3 bedrooms, perfect for a growing family. Jason's apartment is too small, and I do not have the space here. It would be the selfless thing to do to let them have the house you bought. You can find another place, something smaller, since it is just you now." Jason nodded in agreement, adding, "We would really appreciate it, bro. It would give us a fresh start." The absolute entitlement in his voice was what finally woke me up. I looked around the table and suddenly saw with perfect clarity what I had been blind to my entire life. This was not a family that loved me. This was a system designed to take from me while giving nothing in return. Amanda must have sensed my realization. She reached across the table, touching my hand. "Eric, I know this is not ideal, but think about your niece or nephew. Do not punish the baby for our mistake." Our mistake. As if the deliberate months-long betrayal was equivalent to forgetting to pick up milk from the grocery store. I pulled my hand away and stood up from the table. I will not be giving anyone my house. I will not be financing your new life together, and I will no longer be the person everyone takes from and no one gives back to. I walked out despite Mom's protests and Jason's sudden anger. It felt like the first real decision I had made in years, possibly my entire life. The next day, by some cosmic coincidence, I ran into Sam at a coffee shop. We had been friends in college but lost touch over the years. After catching up briefly, I found myself telling her everything. Sam was a psychologist specializing in family trauma, and her perspective changed my life. "Eric, what you are describing is a classic dysfunctional family system. You have been cast in the role of the responsible one, the provider, the fixer. Jason is the golden child who can do no wrong. These roles were established long ago, and everyone, including you, has been playing their part. But you can step out of that role. You can rewrite this story." That conversation was the turning point. With Sam's guidance, I began to see patterns that had controlled my life since childhood. I had been seeking approval and love by being responsible and self-sacrificing, but in a dysfunctional system, those qualities made me the perfect target for exploitation. I consulted a lawyer to protect myself from any potential claims on my property. I started documenting every interaction with my family, recording phone calls when legal and saving text messages. The lawyer assured me that no one could force me to give up my house or provide financial support for my brother's child. I enrolled in a personal development workshop that Sam recommended, focusing on setting boundaries and recognizing my own worth. I threw myself into new projects at work, eventually securing a promotion that would require relocation to our company's Seattle office. The pieces of my escape were falling into place. The decision to sell my house was both practical and symbolic. I listed it without telling my family and accepted an offer within 2 weeks. When Mom called demanding to know what I was doing, I simply told her I was making necessary changes. She threatened that Jason would sue for his share of the house, a baseless claim that my lawyer had already dismissed. I used part of the proceeds to invest in a tech startup that Sam and her partner had founded, focusing on mental health applications. Their vision aligned with my new understanding of healthy relationships, and I found myself excited about something for the first time in months. The day I drove away from Portland towards Seattle was the first day I felt truly free. I had left no forwarding address, with my family changing my phone number and email as well. I found a comfortable apartment near my new office and began building a life that was entirely my own. For the first few weeks, Mom and Jason tried everything to reach me. They contacted my company old friends, even showing up at Thomas's apartment demanding information. But I had prepared everyone for this possibility. No one gave them any information. The legal threats never materialized, as my lawyer had predicted. They had no legitimate claim to anything I owned. Eventually, the attempts at contact slowed and then stopped altogether. From occasional updates through mutual acquaintances, I learned that Jason and Amanda had indeed married in a rushed ceremony. Mom had converted her home office into a nursery, and they were all playing house together. Over the next 2 years, I built a new life. The investment in Sam's startup paid off beyond my expectations when a major health provider acquired their application. My role at the company expanded, bringing both financial security and professional satisfaction. I joined a hiking group and made new friends who knew nothing of my past and accepted me for who I was now. About 18 months after moving to Seattle, I met Sophia at a tech conference. She was brilliant, kind, and most importantly, she respected boundaries. Our relationship developed slowly with deliberate communication and mutual respect. After my experience with Amanda, I was careful about opening up, but Sophia's patience and consistent honesty gradually rebuilt my capacity to trust. Through mutual friends, I occasionally heard news from Portland. Jason had left Amanda 3 months after their baby was born, a little girl named Lily. He had moved to California with someone he met online, leaving Amanda and the baby with Mom. The perfect golden child had once again abandoned his responsibilities, but this time I was not there to pick up the pieces. Mom called me out of the blue on the baby's first birthday. I had maintained my boundary of no contact, but curiosity made me answer the unknown number. "Eric, we need your help. Amanda is struggling as a single mother. Jason sends nothing for child support. I am dipping into my retirement funds. The baby is your niece. You cannot turn your back on family." Even after everything, she still saw me only as a resource to be tapped when needed. I took a deep breath and responded calmly. "I am sorry for your situation, but I am not responsible for fixing it. I wish the best for the child who is innocent in all this, but my boundaries remain firm." I sent an anonymous gift card and small stuffed animal to the baby through a third party. The child had done nothing wrong, and I wished her well, but I would not be manipulated back into the toxic family system. My healing journey was not linear. There were days when anger would resurface, or when I questioned my decision to cut ties so completely. I joined a support group for people who had experienced betrayal trauma, finding solace in sharing my story and helping others see that there was life after such profound pain. I started writing about my experiences anonymously online. What began as personal therapy evolved into a blog that reached thousands of people in similar situations. The comments and messages I received confirmed what Sam had told me from the beginning. My experience was not unique, and by sharing it, I could help others find their way out of dysfunctional patterns. Gradually, I learned to forgive, not for their benefit, but for my own peace. Forgiveness did not mean welcoming them back into my life, or forgetting what had happened. It meant releasing the power that anger had over me, and choosing to focus on the present and future rather than the past. The family I have built now consists of chosen connections. Sophia, who recently became my fiancée in a proposal that healed old wounds. Sam and her partner, who showed me what healthy friendship looks like. My hiking group, who celebrate my successes without expecting anything in return. My colleagues, who respect my contributions and value my input. I now understand that sometimes the most painful betrayals can be the greatest catalysts for growth. Had Amanda remained faithful, had Jason been a supportive brother, had Mom been a nurturing parent, I might never have broken free from the dysfunctional roles that were limiting my life. I might never have discovered my own worth or learned to build relationships based on mutual respect rather than obligation. The family I have built now is based on respect, not obligation. Sometimes the greatest gift betrayal gives you is the chance to rebuild something far more beautiful than what was broken. Have you ever had to make the difficult choice of walking away from toxic relationships to preserve your own well-being? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more stories about overcoming life's challenges. Thank you for listening, and remember, you deserve relationships that add to your life, not drain it. I hope my journey inspires you to value yourself enough to create the boundaries you need. Until next time.